I started life as a fine artist, got thrown out of art college in
Can you
1965.
ask why?
Yep, because I got fed up with the two-dimensional representation of three-dimensional space. So for my final piece, I smashed all my canvases up, put them in the corner of the studio, signalled to someone across the road, because I got fascinated with reds and yellows, set light to all the canvases, and then called the fire brigade. And then we filmed the fire brigade arriving to put the fire out on Super 8, and that was going to be my artwork, which I thought was a work of near genius. But my painting professor thought that I was clinically insane, and the police wanted to arrest me for arson. But instead of both of those things happening, they marched me over to architecture school and said, this boy is fascinated with three-dimensional representation of three-dimensional space, maybe he should be an architect. And the professor of architecture gave me 1 month trial before. I mean, it was jolly hard to get thrown out of art school in 1965, but I almost did. So that's how I started. I started by setting all my canvases alight.
Trying to laugh. Sorry.
That's all right. There's no harm in laughing. But it was best. It was good. It was a good thing that it was a good thing. I mean, it was, clearly I wasn't going to be a painter. Clearly I was too angry about the absurdity of representing three-dimensional things with two-dimensional substances. So it was good. It was good. So then I did 3 years at Brighton. Tumultuous years, of course, because 1967, Summer of Love, 1968, Summer of Protest, 1969, something even more important happened because the Doors played at the Roundhouse, which was their only gig in the UK, and we put a man on the moon, and there was Woodstock. So I had to survive through those 3 extraordinary years when I was 20, 21 and 22, but we just about made it, and got my degree, and then my diploma, then went up to Scotland and read a PhD, and the rest, and then went into practice. That's good.
Wow, okay. So you survived those 3 years then. Did you manage to get to the Doors gig, by the way?
I did get to I got tickets for the Doors. That's why I met. Yeah, I mean, I got tickets for the Doors, but it left it. I mean, those 3 years were really actually quite mad. I mean, 1968 when we were protesting, and we just went to Paris and occupied a Renault factory rather than studying, which was quite interesting. 1967, we were streaking. So it was all, it was almost anything. Our tutors in '67, because we were sitting in at Hornsey Art College to support the students in their fight against having to do exams, because we were trying to abolish all examinations, because we maintained that they prove nothing except that you've got a good memory. Said to us that he would pass our projects even if we only put our name at the top of the piece of paper. So they were heady days. But you've probably read all about those.
Wow.
Those 3 years of madness.
Absolutely. So for those that are aspiring to be in your position, essentially, what skills and personality do you think they should bring to the industry?
Personality is incredibly important in architecture, because we're the only people who have to be able to speak to everybody else in their own language. So the architect has to speak to the engineer, the quantity surveyor, the plumber, the bricklayer, everybody. So you have to have an extraordinarily rounded personality to be able to communicate with everybody, every other building design professional, and everybody on the site. So personality is absolutely essential. If you're inward looking, nervous, shy, you won't stand a chance of surviving in architecture. You've got to be, but you mustn't be arrogant, or because you're going to then upset everybody. So personally, in terms of skills, firstly being able to draw, I still think is extraordinarily important. You know that saying, first I think, then I draw my think, which I think is sort of lovely. Being able to draw, and then once you know you can draw, which is where all the design comes from, then having all of the digital skills to be able to put that into a presentation that could compete with the outside world. I mean, presentation, everybody has to pitch for jobs, everybody has to present schemes in competitions. So once you've done the original drawings, it's a matter then of having tremendously refined professional skills at building CGIs, rapid prototyping, making physical models, and so on.